Hi, so I'm gonna begin my topic for today. So in the last class, I just covered Spring standalone collections, stereotype annotations, that is component and value annotation. Now I'm gonna cover collection with value, collection with value in Spring framework. So in this, we didn't use the XML file. We just took our student class and we inserted component just in order to take that particular class student, and we used value component to insert our values. Here we have taken student name, and here we have provided the input for the student name, that is Puneet, and here we have provided string city, and the city is Delhi. So now I'm gonna begin with collection with value. So in this video, we will see how we can insert value with collections. So now I will just come to this. We haven't declared the bean here. Everything we have done with the help of class mode. So now I just come here, private list. I will take private list because it's quite necessary. String. So here I have created this. So now I will just create a standalone collection, and what I will do is I will try to copy from the this alone config.xml, because in this we have this XML things here, and I will just copy this. So I will just copy this and I will just close this, and I will just delete all this. So it will work like this. So now what I will do is I will move forward. So here I have already given context component scan base package equal to string.stereotype, and here I will come down. Now simply I will just declare util list. Util list Java dot util dot array list. So this is how I will just create util and id equal to temp. So I will just take value here. I will just insert some value here. Daily. New day. Then I will just insert another value. Here Noida, and here Chennai. So I just insert the values. Now we will actually use this list in our value in our student class. So we will just come to the student class, and where we have given the reference of address, we will just go there and we will just give value component. Here we will put this hash, and we will write the ID name. So our ID name is in these brackets, and it will just find the temp. It will find all the value from here, and it will try to link. So now we will just generate getters and setters for address. So now we will just come to our test class, and we will try to get student dot get address. So we will just have to print the class also. Dot get name, I guess. Get name, and here we will just try to run, see if there are some errors. Um, just check the rules. So basically now we get the output. We get that student name is Neet and city is Delhi, which we have given the input and this, and the values which I have given in this XML file. I'm getting those values here, and I'm getting the type of class also, that is java.util.arraylist. So there were some errors in these dependencies basically in XML file. These type of dependent, I was having some issues in there. So I just fixed those and I got the output. So this is how basically we use collections with value. So here, so basically, we can use map also like that, and the properties also like that. In this video, we just saw that how we can use collection with value annotation. So now I wanna begin forward with Spring Boot scope. So I will just prepare and I will start. I will just prepare the code and I will start further. So now I'm gonna begin with Spring Bean scope. So basically, we have Spring Bean scope here, and it consists of few things. Spring Bean scope. So basically, when we say that Spring container, when we need object for which we have already saved the configuration file in XML. So does the question arises, does the Spring container really follow that? Basically, Spring Bean is already defined. Is already defined. What I mean is, the thing is, when we need any object, it will run with the help of the configuration file, XML file, for which we have given the data, for which we have given the name of the objects. We have it depends on what we are calling. And types, when we come with types of Spring Bean, first is Singleton. Second is prototype. Third is request. Fourth is session. Fifth is globalization. So basically, global, not globalization, global session. So global session. So the thing is, we're gonna see the two types now. What is a singleton and prototype Spring Bean? Basically, if I talk about ton, the thing is, it will apply. First of all, it will apply automatically. Then, what does it mean? That when we configure any class, will create only one object and it will run that that particular object many times until and unless we call that object. So basically this is the type of singleton. When we configure any class, it will create only one object and it will run that particular object many times until and unless we run that object. So this is how the singleton method is. Now, now if I talk about prototype, basically the time we call it will always give us a new object. So this is the main difference we can say. Here it is only creating one object and it will call the object many times until and unless we want that. And here every time a new object is formed and it is called, how much time we want to call that object. So basically this is the main difference between singleton spring bean scope and prototype spring bean scope. So now we're going to see practical for this single bean scope and prototype. In this session, I will just talk about these two things. So in the earlier, we just took standalone, and in that standalone, we just inserted bean and util. We inserted the properties. We inserted the here. We have this which we have already got the output. So basically these were the collection with value. So now we will just see in this example only. Now what if we want to see the hash code? What is the command is student dot hash code. So basically when we run this program, it will try to display the hash code here. Yeah, so it is just displaying the hash code here. And here we have just called con.getBean. We have called the object only once here. So now we will see basically in this I have just called the object one time. Now we will see how we can call the object one another time. So now we will just come down. Now we will just give another statement get bean student dot class. Here student student equal to con.getBean, and here, so here we will give student 2. So here also we will just print the hash code. So here what we will do, we will just give student 2. So the thing is, we have to see, is it giving the hash code same of both the classes? First is the student class and second is the student 2 class. So we are getting the same code, same hash code here. We will just ignore all these things. We will just see this. We are getting the same hash code. The first object has same hash code. This student and this also have same hash code. So when we asked for another time, the container didn't create any new object. It gave the same hash code. But if we call it the third time, it will always give this same hash code only. And in another condition, we what if we want a different hash code and we want, for that case we will just use prototype. So this is how the prototype is. The times we will call the object, it will always give a new object to us. So this is the main difference between singleton and prototype. So what if we want to go beyond, how we can configure bean scope? We have two options basically. So configure bean scope. There are two ways: XML file and second is I guess annotations if I'm not, yeah, annotation. So how we will use that? We will just come to this and bean class equal to name equal to scope. So basically this is how you can call it in our XML file. Prototype is by default. And what if we use annotation? This is the first type. Second type is annotation. So what is the component which we have studied in the last session? So so now we will just go to our student class and here we will try to use it. Scopes, yeah. And here we can define it, what we want to do. Here I am defining prototype. So now So now what if we run the program? So now what if we run the program? Now we are getting the different hash codes. So this is how the proto spring bean scope runs. In this, it will give always a new object until and unless we will call it. So we are getting the different hash codes here. So now I will just create a new class. Student I have already created. Now I am going to creating the class student. So we will using XML file in that. I will come to my XML file. Here I will just declare bean. Here I will just paste the package destination. So I will just close it, and just a second. There is something wrong. Here if I have to give this. Oh, sorry. It was correct. I have not given the teacher class. So I will just give teacher class. And here I am giving the input value name equal to teacher, and the scope basically scope which we define that is, we can say, prototype, prototype. Prototype. So now we will come to our test class. We can get bean also here. We will get bean now with con.get bean teacher teacher dot class, and here we will just paste teacher t1 equal to. So now what we will do is, we will just copy this and we will paste it again, and here we will give t2, and after that we will give the printing statement for hash code syso t1 dot hash code. T1 dot hash code. So now what we will do is we will run the program. But if it runs, yeah. So here we are getting this. Just a second. Now I guess we will get different. Yeah. So now we are getting the different hash code because we have provided prototype specially in our scope. We have provided prototype in our scope. So this is how prototype works and singleton works. But if we don't define prototype, it will automatically configure that it is a single type. So this is how the single type and prototype works. We can also ask Spring container to provide to make singleton or prototype. So this is how we do Spring Bean scope with singleton and prototype. So the next is Spring expression language. So basically we will write how we can, what is Spring expression language and what is the procedure to write that. So I will start that in my next topic. So in this session, I have just covered collection with value and Spring Bean scope. Spring Bean scope types, the five types: singleton, prototype, request, session, and global session. And in that five types, I have covered two types basically, which we have done. In which, if we want to print the hash code of singleton, we will call object many times. So it will give the same hash code for that. What it means that it will call that same object in the case of singleton, and when we see the prototype, it will call that, it will always create a new object and provide a different hash code in that situation. And for that, basically we have to use scope. It is a type of annotation. So there were two methods in which we have done. First was the XML file and second was the annotation. So in the next session, I will start Spring expression language. Thank you, sir.